Every year, Americans spend nearly $4 billion on bottled lawn and garden fertilizer. $4 billion for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the exact three ingredients you are currently scraping into your trash can or rinsing down your kitchen sink without a second thought. That is the whole scam in one sentence. What is inside that $15 bottle is sitting in your banana peels, your eggshells, your coffee grounds right now for free. 12 tricks, all backed by real plant chemistry, not folklore. Some work in days. A couple build something that keeps paying you back for years. And one of them, near the end, is going to make some of you uncomfortable for about 10 seconds, right before you realize it's one of the most effective things on this entire list. Quick thing before we start. Tell me in the comments what you are currently planting or intend planting. What are your challenges with gardening right now? Let's get into it. Number 12, banana peel water, the gentlest entry point on the whole list. Banana peels are loaded with potassium, the nutrient responsible for flower and fruit development, root strength, and overall disease resistance. And it is sitting in your compost bin every single morning, doing nothing for anyone. Chop 2 or 3 peels roughly. Drop them into a jar of water and let it sit for 2 to 3 days at room temperature. Strain out the peel, and you are left with a mild, potassium-rich liquid you can pour straight onto the soil around flowering and fruiting plants. Tomatoes, peppers, roses, anything putting energy into blooms rather than just leaves. The mistake most people make is throwing whole peels directly into the soil, expecting the same effect. Whole peels take months to break down and release almost nothing useful in the short term. They are basically decoration until they finally rot. Soaking extracts the potassium fast, in days instead of months, which is the entire difference between a trick that works and one that just looks like it should. Number 11, eggshell vinegar soak. And this one fixes a mistake almost everyone makes with eggshells specifically. Crushed eggshells are pure calcium carbonate, and calcium is essential for strong cell walls, which is why a calcium shortage shows up as blossom end rot on tomatoes and peppers, that ugly black leathery patch on the bottom of the fruit. The problem is that a whole or roughly crushed eggshell tossed into a garden bed takes the better part of a year to break down enough to actually release that calcium, which means it is doing almost nothing during the exact growing season you need it. The fix is simple chemistry. Crush shells as fine as you can, drop them into a jar, cover them with plain white vinegar, and let it sit for about a week. The acid dissolves the calcium out of the shell and into the liquid, which you then dilute about 1 part solution to 10 parts water before watering it in around the base of calcium-hungry plants. That is calcium your plant can actually use this season, not next year. Number 10, coffee grounds. And this is the trick where the common version of the advice is actually a little bit wrong. Used coffee grounds do contain nitrogen, and nitrogen drives leafy green growth, which is why this tip circulates constantly. But raw grounds piled directly and thickly around a plant's base can mat down, block water and air from reaching the soil, and, contrary to popular belief, are only mildly acidic once brewed, not the dramatic pH bomb people assume. The actual mistake is volume and placement, not the coffee itself. Work a thin layer, no more than 1/4 inch, into the top of the soil, or better, add your grounds into your compost pile where they break down properly alongside other material and release their nitrogen in a form your plants can actually use without the matting problem. Composted coffee grounds are a genuinely good nitrogen source. A thick, raw pile dumped straight onto your soil is the thing giving this trick a bad reputation it does not entirely deserve. Number 9, grass clipping mulch, sitting in a bag at the end of your driveway every single week that most people pay a service to haul away. Fresh grass clippings are surprisingly high in nitrogen, similar in ratio to a mild synthetic lawn fertilizer, and laying a thin layer around your vegetable beds does double duty, feeding the soil as it breaks down, while also suppressing weeds and holding in moisture. The mistake here is depth. A thick, wet mat of clippings piled more than an inch or so deep will compact, exclude oxygen, and start to smell like it is rotting, because it is, turning into a slimy anaerobic mess instead of a functional mulch. Thin layers, an inch or less, added gradually over several mowings, let each layer dry and break down before the next one goes on top. Skip clippings from any lawn recently treated with herbicide, since that chemical can persist and damage the very vegetables you are trying to feed. Number 8, wood ash. And this is the trick that comes with the most important caution on the whole list. If you burn wood in a fireplace or a fire pit, the ash left behind is rich in potassium and calcium carbonate, meaning it acts as a mild natural lime, raising soil pH while also feeding potassium-hungry plants. That makes it genuinely useful, but only in the right soil. Wood ash should never go anywhere near acid-loving plants, blueberries, azaleas, rhododendrons, since raising the pH around their roots actively harms them. It is best suited to vegetable beds with naturally acidic soil that could use a mild pH lift. Applied sparingly, a light dusting worked into the top inch of soil, not a thick layer. Only use ash from plain, untreated wood, never from charcoal briquettes, treated lumber, or anything printed or painted, since those release compounds you do not want anywhere near food you plan to eat. Number 7, and this is less a single trick than a permanent system working underneath everything else: nitrogen-fixing companion planting. Beans, peas, clover, and other legumes host a specific type of bacteria in nodules on their roots that pull nitrogen directly out of the air and convert it into a form plants can use, quite literally manufacturing free fertilizer in the ground while the plant grows. Interplant beans or peas alongside heavy nitrogen feeders like corn, squash, or leafy greens, and by the time you harvest the legume, a meaningful amount of that fixed nitrogen has already been released into the surrounding soil for its neighbors to use. This is not a fast-acting liquid feed like the earlier entries on this list. It is a slow, steady background boost that compounds the longer you keep doing it. The mistake is pulling the legume plants out by the root once they finish producing. Cut them off at the soil line instead, and leave the root system in the ground, since that is where the nitrogen-rich nodules actually are. And pulling them out yanks your own fertilizer straight out of the bed along with the plant. Number 6, comfrey tea. And if you have never grown this plant, this is the one on the list most worth adding to your garden, specifically to unlock everything else here. Comfrey sends roots down remarkably deep, several feet in established plants, pulling up potassium, nitrogen, and a wide range of trace minerals from soil layers most vegetable roots never reach, and concentrating them in its own fast-growing leaves. Cut those leaves, pack them into a bucket, weigh them down, and let them sit and break down for 3 to 4 weeks. What comes out is a genuinely potent, if fairly pungent, liquid feed, diluted before use since it is concentrated enough to burn tender roots at full strength. One established comfrey patch, cut back several times a season, can supply an entire vegetable garden's worth of liquid feed for free indefinitely once it is established. The mistake is planting ordinary comfrey instead of a sterile cultivar like Bocking 14, since common comfrey spreads aggressively by seed and root fragment and can become genuinely difficult to control once it takes hold. Quick check-in, because we are 6 deep, and every single one of these has cost you nothing beyond a jar, a bucket, or a few minutes. If one of these has already changed how you look at your kitchen trash, hit subscribe. This channel digs up practical tricks like this every week. No sponsors, nothing sold to you between the lines. Now, the ones that take a little more setup and pay back a lot more. Number 5, and this is the one that surprises almost everyone the first time they hear it: blackstrap molasses. Molasses itself is not really a fertilizer in the traditional sense. It contains very little nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium on its own. What it does instead is feed the beneficial bacteria and fungi already living in your soil. the microorganisms actually responsible for breaking down organic matter into a form plant roots can absorb. A tablespoon or two of blackstrap molasses, specifically the unsulfured kind, dissolved into a gallon of water and poured around the root zone gives that soil biology a genuine sugar rush, and an active, well-fed microbial population processes nutrients faster and makes more of them available to your plants than the same soil left to work at its normal, unfed pace. This is a background booster, not an instant fix. Most growers apply it every couple of weeks through the growing season rather than as a one-time treatment. Number 4, worm castings. And this is the point on the list where you move from finding free inputs to actually running a tiny, ongoing production system. Red wiggler worms, kept in a simple bin with shredded newspaper or cardboard bedding and fed your kitchen scraps, produce castings, essentially refined worm manure that rank among the most balanced, gentle, plant-available fertilizers that exist, containing nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and a genuinely diverse population of beneficial microbes all in one. Unlike most concentrated fertilizers, castings are gentle enough that they are essentially impossible to over-apply and burn a plant with, which makes them forgiving even for a beginner. A basic worm bin costs almost nothing to set up. A plastic tote and some worms sourced from an existing bin or ordered online, and from that point forward, it runs almost entirely on food scraps you are already throwing away. The mistake is overfeeding a new bin before the worm population has grown enough to keep up, which lets food rot faster than it is processed and turns the whole thing sour and unpleasant. Start light and increase feeding gradually as the population visibly grows. Number 3, and this is the trick almost nobody talks about because it does not look like fertilizer at all: borrowing soil biology. Mycorrhizal fungi form a genuinely symbiotic relationship with plant roots, extending microscopic thread-like networks far beyond what the root itself could ever reach, dramatically increasing the surface area available for absorbing water and nutrients, particularly phosphorus, in exchange for a bit of sugar the plant produces through photosynthesis. Healthy, undisturbed soil under an established native tree or a thriving, untreated garden bed is already full of these fungi. Take a small handful of that soil, or the leaf litter and duff sitting just under the surface, and work it into the soil around a new transplant, and you are inoculating that new planting with a functioning fungal network instead of asking it to build one from nothing on its own. The mistake is doing this in soil that has been recently treated with synthetic fungicide, which kills the very fungi you are trying to introduce, or in soil so disturbed and compacted that the network has nowhere established to extend into in the first place. Number 2, and I want you to actually stick with me on this one instead of skipping ahead, because it is one of the most scientifically well-documented entries on this entire list: diluted urine. Human urine is remarkably rich in nitrogen, along with real amounts of phosphorus and potassium, essentially the same 3 nutrients printed on the front of every commercial fertilizer bottle. And it arrives completely sterile from a healthy person, since urine itself is not the same thing as waste that carries pathogens. Diluted at roughly 1 part urine to 10 or 20 parts water, then poured around the base of nitrogen-hungry plants, it functions as a genuinely fast-acting liquid feed, and agricultural researchers in multiple countries have studied it seriously as a low-cost, sustainable alternative to synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. Not as a fringe idea, but as a real subject of real study. The mistake is applying it undiluted or too frequently, which delivers a concentration strong enough to burn roots and foliage. The same risk any nitrogen-heavy feed carries when it is not cut down first. Used correctly, diluted, applied to soil rather than leaves, and not on anything you plan to eat within a few weeks of application, it is free, effective, and something an enormous number of home gardeners already quietly do, without ever mentioning it out loud. Number 1, and this is the technique that actually ties every single trick on this list together: compost tea. If you already have a compost pile, working through kitchen scraps, yard waste, and maybe some of those coffee grounds and eggshells from earlier on this list. You already have the base ingredient for the single most complete liquid feed on this entire list, sitting a few steps from your back door. Fill a porous bag or an old pillowcase with a few shovelfuls of finished compost. Submerge it in a bucket of water and let it steep for 24 to 48 hours, stirring occasionally. What you get is a liquid extract carrying a broad, balanced range of nutrients, and more importantly, a genuinely massive population of the beneficial microbes already living in that compost, ready to be poured directly onto soil or lightly misted onto leaves, where those microbes go straight to work. This is the closest thing on this entire list to a complete general purpose feed, because it is not built around one nutrient the way banana peel water or eggshell soak are. It carries a little of everything your compost pile already broke down. The mistake is letting it steep too long or in a sealed, airless container, which shifts the batch toward anaerobic bacteria that smell foul and can actually harm plants rather than help them. Keep it aerated, stir it daily, use it within a couple of days of brewing, and you have turned a pile of rotting scraps into the same category of liquid feed people pay real money for in a bottle. 12 tricks, and not one of them required a trip to the garden center. Some of these work in days, banana peel water and the eggshell soak especially. A couple of them, comfrey and the worm bin, take a season to get running, but then keep paying you back for years without you doing much at all. And that one in the middle, you know the one, is free, effective, and something a lot more gardeners already do than will ever admit it in a comments section. Tell me in the comments which one you are trying first, and if you already do a couple of these, tell me which ones. I want to see how many of you were already ahead of this list before it even started. If you want the deeper walkthrough on the compost tea setup or the comfrey patch specifically, subscribe so you catch it when it's out. That's really the only reason to. Go check your kitchen trash and your compost bin before you check your wallet. The fertilizer aisle has been selling you your own garbage back this whole time.